Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah. I said give me a hell yeah.
Hey, happy Wednesday, universe. It is Taryn. I am here to talk you through another episode of SmackDown Live from last night. It is sunny and beautiful today. I am stoked because this girl over here just secured NXT TakeOver tickets for TakeOver Brooklyn. So I could not be more excited. Last night's SmackDown was a great show. Something that I want to mention, because we're not going to get to it in the top 5, but is just interesting, is it was announced that AJ Styles was not cleared for in-ring competition. They potentially had the benefit of the fact that he got hit by a chair in his Backlash match for kayfabe reasons, but it does lead us to believe that the rumors about him recovering from injury currently are true, and that they're going to use this chair moment to take him off of TV for a while, probably so that he can recover fully. So our fingers are crossed, all of our thoughts and prayers are with him, because God knows we love a champion, AJ Styles, and that his title defenses are some of our favorite. So so we hope AJ Styles is feeling better. But now we're going to move swiftly on to our SmackDown speed-through and to the rest of our show. You guys don't want to miss 1 second of Tag Me In Bro content, so go on Twitter right now and follow us at Tag Me In Bro. Now, I hope everyone is excited for the show, because it is about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are talking wrestling. First things first, we'll cover our SmackDown speed-through, where we'll give you our analysis of the most important bits of last night's show. After that, we've got our Hi to the People segment, where we want to hear from you guys and find out more about your views on who the next U.S. Championship #1 contender should be. Then we're going to move on to our main event, where we'll be talking about the question on everybody's mind this week, and then we will close out the show with our stars of the night. This week, the question on everyone's mind that we're going to be talking about is, what should the WWE be doing with Daniel Bryan now that he's back full time? We'll be talking much more about that in the main event. So now let us get to our SmackDown speed through.
Woo!
Here are the only 5 things you need to know about SmackDown Live this week. 5, the Bar looks like they're headed for a breakup. 4, The Miz qualified for Money in the Bank. 3, Charlotte Flair qualified for Money in the Bank. And 1, Rusev beats Daniel Bryan to qualify for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay, guys, so we are officially in Money in the Bank season. It is my favorite pay-per-view, I believe, maybe of the whole season. I love it. I'm so excited. It falls at a perfect time of year, just at the start of the summer. And in this new season of wrestling, as we look at it post-WrestleMania, it really feels like the constant opportunity that really proves that anything can happen. Whoever wins the Money in the Bank contract is set up to do whatever they want, essentially, for a year. It always creates a new possibility. It always gives a new edge. It makes both shows so much more interesting. And this year, they have announced that they're going to be doing 2 matches, both with 8 competitors, which would lead you to believe probably 4 from each brand. Dual-branded pay-per-view, 2 ladder matches, 1 for the men, 1 for the women, after last year's episode, we'll call it, where James Ellsworth won the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm very excited to see something very, very different happen this year. But so what we've been seeing on both brands, at least this week, is the start of qualifying matches. The qualifying matches I found to be of an incredibly high quality for just week-to-week TV, especially I think in the weeks leading up to Backlash. We were seeing some kind of blasé matches, some kind of blasé endings. It wasn't super, super interesting. I feel like that'll really change this week, which I really appreciated. So heading into number 5, our number 5 moment was the only one that is not Money in the Bank based. But basically, Cesaro and Sheamus had a segment backstage where Cesaro kind of half was empathizing with Sheamus about the fact that he had lost to Xavier Woods the week before and was a little bit trying to, like, console him. But then he was also like, I wouldn't lose to Xavier Woods. And Sheamus was like, what the fuck, dude? What are you talking about? And they had kind of a little spat, only to find that all their bags had been filled with pancakes. Cesaro then went on to have a match with Xavier Woods where he did win, which leads us to believe that, he's kind of put his money where his mouth is. And it feels like it only feeds and fuels that tension for the bar, which just means that there is a high potential in my mind that we're going to start to see that breakup coming full circle to that first best of 7 match that has put us in the situation of having the bar. And that on this new brand, maybe they are looking at down the line, probably at SummerSlam, I would guess, having them have one last explosion into singles competition runs. So very interesting, definitely something to look out for. So speaking of 4, our number 4 moment was The Miz qualifying for the Money in the Bank ladder match. So The Miz's match was The Miz versus U.S. champion Jeff Hardy. I thought this was an amazing match. I thought it was really, really good. Those two have, I thought, great ring chemistry. I think it's the best The Miz has looked in a while. I thought there was a great pace to it. I thought it was very fast. The Miz kicked out of the Swanton Bomb for a quick 1-2-3 cover on Jeff Hardy to end it. Super exciting, very unexpected, a lot of false finishes. It was really great. I thought the caliber was just super strong, and it puts The Miz into the ladder match. Money in the Bank is a perfect place for a character like The Miz, and with Jeff Hardy being the U.S. champion, it does make it feel like there will probably be a title defense, which is great because it just means there's more opportunities to see more superstars outside of that ladder match. So all in all, very happy here. Number 3, the first female competitor from SmackDown Live qualified for the female Money in the Bank ladder match, and that was Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair had a match against Peyton Royce of the Iconics. She showed up with Billie Kay. They talked about how Charlotte had lost at Backlash. Their match was fine. Their match was good. They have not, up until this point, booked the Iconics as a team that can beat anyone, so it felt very natural for Charlotte Flair to win. Again, it makes way more sense for a character like Charlotte Flair to be in the ladder match. Charlotte Flair is always chasing a crown, always chasing a championship. And right now, the Iconics are just kind of happy to be there as far as their character development has shown, and kind of just happy to stir the pot. I do hope that they're more involved later and that they have some different opportunities. But right now, when you only have 8 women, only 4 from the SmackDown brand, and you have 2 of the 4 horsewomen, you have Asuka, you have Naomi, it does make sense that maybe it's not time for the Iconics just yet. But yeah, Charlotte Flair had a great match. Beautiful, beautiful moonsault. And she made Peyton Royce tap out to the figure 8. She looks great, better than ever, moving forward. Which is our number 1 moment of this week's SmackDown Live. Happy Rusev Day! Rusev beat Daniel Bryan to qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder match. So just as a small recap of the episode, it means that the 2 men who have qualified from SmackDown are The Miz and Rusev, joining Braun Strowman and Finn Balor. And the 2 women are Charlotte Flair and Mandy Rose, who are now joining Ember Moon, who is the sole woman to have currently qualified from the Raw women's roster. So this Rusev versus Daniel Bryan match, really great match. Main event of SmackDown Live. Very shocking to me that Daniel Bryan lost. We'll be talking about Daniel Bryan and his current WWE status and booking in our main event. I know Tommy has some really interesting thoughts, so I'm excited for us to get to that part of the show. But I think it positions Rusev super, super strongly going into what is already a very stacked card for that match. Do I believe that Rusev will win? I don't know, but I won't lie. Having him in it does make it feel like it's more of any man's game against strong competitors, whereas putting Daniel Bryan in would really be the first of a Legends match that feels like it would put you in Daniel Bryan, he's got to win, right? That being said, I'm not entirely sure he's counted out. Again, his elimination this early on does make me think that there will be a second chances match probably later down the line as far as TV is considered for one last position in the Money in the Bank ladder match. But it was, a great match. Rusev happy Rusev Day. Rusev finally won. He won a really important match, and he's going to be at a really important match at they always have the big four with like Money in the Bank being like the little five for pay-per-views, but I really do think it's one of the best pay-per-views of the year. I think that kind of goes without saying. So happy Rusev Day, everybody. Rusev is moving on to Money in the Bank. And that has been our SmackDown Live speed through. I personally thought the episode was really good. I thought the matches were really compelling. Money in the Bank is my favorite time of the year for wrestling, and with the pay-per-view being dual branded this year, the qualifying matches really do feel important because the spots are so limited, and I think this week, the product has done a phenomenal job of setting us up for what is to come. But we want to know your thoughts on social media. Speaking of social media, it is time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on who should be the next U.S. Championship #1 contender. We'll be running a Twitter poll for the next 72 hours and discussing the results here on our show next week. So let us know exactly what you think. It doesn't appear like Hardy Orton will continue, and assuming that the belt will be defended at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, it means the contender theoretically won't be in that ladder match. So let us know who you think it's going to be. You can vote on Twitter by tweeting at us and using the hashtag #HotTag or emailing us at tagmeandbro@gmail.com. Share your opinion, let us know what you think, and maybe you'll have your thoughts read out on the show next week. Every week we read some of our favorite responses, and speaking of, that means we're going to talk about the results of last week's topic. So last week we asked you guys what you would like to see from Becky Lynch. Do you want to see her continue to with this babyface character, or would you rather see her pushed with a giant heel turn? Overwhelmingly, the result was that you guys want to see a Hellfire heel Becky Lynch. Heel Becky won with 69% of the vote. Babyface Becky only had 31%. Some of our favorite comments were Talkamania @_Talkamania saying, I've been saying it for months on the show. Becky needs a quote-unquote cold as ice alter ego. And another one Rumkey_Tasnia said, I like Becky Lynch both ways. She is always so nice the way that she is. I think it goes without saying that Becky Lynch is an absolute fan favorite, a WWE Universe darling, but I want to see her. I want to see more of her. I don't like this losing streak, Becky Lynch, and I don't think you guys do either. I do think a heel turn would maybe reinvigorate the character. I think that this character of being so frustrated with herself that she could maybe quote-unquote turn bad would be an interesting thing to see, and we will see how it continues. So thank you guys for voting in that. Don't forget to vote this week. We'll put everything up on our Twitter @TagMeInBro. And now it's time for our main event. For this week's main event, I am joined by my fabulous co-host and fellow WWE superfan, Tommy Rowe. Welcome, Tommy.
Welcome to me, indeed.
So do I have to keep welcoming you to the show, or can it just be assumed from now on that you're going to be on it?
I mean, at this point, I've become just a main staple here in the main event. So, yeah, I don't think you have to welcome me anymore. I don't feel welcome in most places anyway, so I think it's totally fine.
No, we're always welcome here, and we are glad to have you. So this week we're talking about what the WWE is doing with Daniel Bryan now that he is back to full-time 52-week-a-year competition.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because this week he lost.
Big time.
Very big time. So he beat Big Cass at Backlash after Big Cass pulled that inappropriate, shall we call it, stunt where he literally brought out a little person. He was understandably not on TV this week after losing, but we did see Daniel Bryan lose this week to Rusev. What do you think their long game is or should be?
Well, so after Daniel Bryan was announced to be cleared for competition, everyone's first thought was Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. That was the first thought in every single person's mind. But they're not in the same hemisphere right now. They're in completely different spaces. If Daniel Bryan had won his match against Rusev today, that would have been really interesting. But that didn't happen. So where does Daniel Bryan go from here is the big question. There's always a chance that there's going to be a second chance thing, some sort of rumble or a gauntlet match or something like that. But if you're looking at where Daniel Bryan is right now, I think his best character in the history of Daniel Bryan has been when he's an underdog. He's super hyped and has been for a very long time in his what was his former retirement. Always shown to be like climbing the top of the mountain, yes lock on Batista at WrestleMania 30, holding both of those belts over his head. Like that's kind of the culmination of the Daniel Bryan story. But now that we're entering this weird, unplanned epilogue, you kind of have to rebuild the character. And I do think having him win at Backlash was important for the bullies don't win reason, but not great for the returning Big Cass thing. I think Big Cass should have won that match for a number of reasons. But the two main ones being that you need to protect returning talent. That's why Samoa Joe was off TV this week, because he had no legitimacy anymore. Because I remember a couple weeks ago he mentioned to AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, like, I'm coming for the winner, and he's just not there to speak up.
Yeah, there also was no winner, so
yeah,
so it was a whole empty bag.
Exactly. So that was unfortunate, but when you mishandle returning talent, you lose that immediate sense of like, oh shit, they're back. It's like a re-debut. So you ruin Big Cass in that match, and you also unnecessarily put Daniel Bryan over. Daniel Bryan doesn't need to win to be over. Everyone's on his side no matter what. So if you have him lose in the main event to someone like Rusev, who is over, but actually a heel, despite the fact that he's cheered for more than almost anyone else, that is the right way to book underdog Daniel Bryan. That's how they were booking Sami Zayn before his heel turn. Was he was this underdog, and he had the beard like Daniel Bryan had, and I wanted him to overcome these things, and he never did, so they turned him heel. Are they going to turn Daniel Bryan heel? No, that will never happen. He's too over as a face. It ain't going to happen. He's not going to switch yes to no. No way.
But do you think, in this almost interview format, do you think that Daniel Bryan is, on some level, because of his already almost legendary status, because, as you so well put it, we are in this kind of uncharted epilogue, he's already seen as this legendary figure. Do you think he, as a wrestler at this point, is almost like too big to fail? Like, do you think he is too big to play this underdog character because it's Daniel Bryan?
Well, I get your point, because he's at legend status right now. He never had to wrestle again, and he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, 100%. But I don't think that's what they're trying to do. They're kind of trying to break the mystique of Daniel Bryan because they think they're going to get a lot more out of him. This is not like a legend returning for a 1-year run. This is not Goldberg returning to get the title and then drop it at Mania and like finally put over a last talent. Like, Daniel Bryan is going to wrestle at every single moment that he can, and they're going to milk him for everything he's worth.
It also feels really interesting, just building off of that, because as you were talking before about like protecting returning talent, you can't play some of the same storylines. You cannot say things like, Randy Orton's returned from his shoulder surgery, so like, oh, he's still grasping at that shoulder, because Daniel Bryan's injury was so both unseen and severe in ways that are more mental than physical on some level. They can't walk around being like, does your head hurt? Because it puts the company and him at such jeopardy that it's obviously unplayable for a storyline and for an arc, that it kind of puts him in this interesting boat, because you can't say like, he's out of it, you know? Yeah. Do you think that changes anything with how they book him or how they can book him? Does it put him in a box?
Yeah, well, that is interesting, because as a wrestler, your main tool for getting the crowd to like you is selling. One of the things that I think Roman Reigns is really bad at is selling. Like, he'll just roll on the floor and he'll have his comeback out of nowhere. At Backlash, he was just in the Coquina Clutch and he was definitely like dead, and then was like, I'm alive. And like, that's not cool. It's only cool when The Undertaker does it. So like, stop. Daniel Bryan can't sell a head injury. Because you can't hobble around the ring jelly leg style like Sami Zayn does, because the moment you do that, they're like, oh shit, does Daniel Bryan not know where he is because he has a head injury? If he does, are we watching his last match? Oh my god, I'm immediately taken out of the moment.
Yeah.
I think that does kind of handicap the character a little bit because he can't sell injuries in the same way. So I do agree. I think it does put him in a bit of a box, but that's where the veteran brain of Daniel Bryan comes in. He knows how to be over. He has been over for a very long time. He is the opposite of what people think of when they think of a Hulk Hogan style professional wrestler. He's small, he's fast, he's flippy, he does all of that sort of stuff. He can get himself over without that. I think it will just require him to be even more intelligent in how he plays his character and very careful booking. And I think that they are headed in the right direction, kind of putting him back in that underdog status, because he can wrestle for whatever it was, like an hour and 17 minutes in the Greatest Royal Rumble. He lost. In the same way that Chris Jericho a couple years ago said he was the 65-minute man, even though it was 69 minutes, but they couldn't say that because, But no one's going to remember that. Yep. He can be an underdog again, and that's when people love Daniel Bryan.
I totally agree. And then I guess my last thing is what would you like to see happen with Daniel Bryan? I'll give you a minute. Like, I know for me personally, I think you were completely right when you said that the first thing that popped into everyone's mind when he was cleared for in-ring competition when it came to booking was, we finally get to see Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. I still think that is what we all want. I think that's not off their radar. I would love to see it. I do think they will miss pulling the trigger. If they've been really, really bad at something, honestly, in the past kind of season, it's been pulling the trigger when something is hot.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to, if we look at it as a learning from our mistakes kind of thing, they, I think, came to a realization that they missed the fashion police. And I think they are trying to not miss Rusev Day and coming dangerously close, but trying really hard to put him back in a position where they can sell him and capitalize on that. I don't think they want to lose. I don't think they want to miss the trigger on The Miz versus Daniel Bryan. And yes, there are two superstars that are timeless. There are two superstars that I would watch fight whenever. But I think throwing them into a situation like Money in the Bank, where neither has to win, they just both have to be in the same ring to spark that fire, is the perfect beginning. Because it's a feud that can culminate at WrestleMania. It's also a feud that can see many shows. It can see a Survivor Series. It can see a Royal Rumble match. It can see, then, finally, a WrestleMania. Yeah. But I think that it's one of those feuds that we wouldn't be upset to keep seeing. So Absolutely. I think they should pull it sooner. I do think it should be over a belt, which is a little bit hard and doesn't have to start that way. Like, that's the thing I want to stress the most. It can just start as like a blood vengeance feud. I am personally under the impression that it should be for the IC Championship. I don't think there could be a more prestigious way for Daniel Bryan to re-win his first belt, considering it was the belt that he had to vacate when he retired, and that it is obviously the belt that means the most to The Miz. And I think that we have time, and that's why I say start it now and let it go, because we have time. Neither of them holds the belt right now. The belt's on a different brand than both of them. But we saw last year they did like a mini superstar shakeup in the middle of the year. So it would be, I think there's hope and potential for that to be the case. So that's my dream booking. What would you like to have happen, and what would you like to see with Daniel Bryan?
I think Daniel Bryan needs to find his way to the Money in the Bank ladder match, and I agree. If they lose it being this momentum toward this match that needs to happen, they will lose it completely and people will forget about it. And yet, when I think about it, what sparked this? It was an episode of a SmackDown post-show 2 years ago. I think my dream booking for this is that they both find their way into the ladder match, cost themselves that opportunity, fight at SummerSlam, perhaps for just like blood grunge match, whatever, and then fight for the IC championship. I completely agree with you. I think that is the most interesting way to do it. And you can have some secondary characters playing along as well, because if Chris Jericho comes back and he's going up against The Miz for the IC championship, and they're like clocking that 9-time reign to 10, and then Daniel Bryan's also there, and then he has it for a little bit. I think it would be very interesting to see that happen. I also think it's totally possible that they could just let it go for now. I think they could let other storylines play out. I can't imagine what it would be like for a person on the WWE creative team to kind of receive this golden goose that is, hey, the guy who was out for 3 years is back. Because it's a blessing and a curse. What do you do with Daniel Bryan? For now, I'm excited to watch. I think we can prognosticate as much as we want, but when it comes down to it, we don't make the decision. So I don't like getting too into like, oh, I want this to happen and this to happen, because then you just get disappointed. Or sometimes you're just right. And that's the best. But honestly, I'm just happy that he's back. If he wrestles The Miz, I'll be even happier. But if he just wrestles, I'll be a happy man.
I completely agree, and I think that brings our discussion to the perfect close. We can't wait to hear any thoughts you guys have, so don't forget, please tweet at us, please get in touch, and now we're going to finish off the show the way that we do every week with our Stars of the Night. Number 3 for our Stars of the Night this week was Rusev. Happy Rusev Day. Rusev had a great performance, and he finally won a really important match. We were super excited about it. Congrats, Rusev. Number 2 for our Stars of the Night is the WWE production team. So good job, production team. This is expressly for Mandy Rose's entrance. It was amazing. It was so much fun. It was exactly what the WWE and professional wrestling should be at its highest caliber of production. In a year where they've given us the selfie promos, where they've taken away the pyro, it was a really fun, cool digital way to display and like exemplify a character. We loved it. Congrats. And number 1, our number 1 star of the night for SmackDown Live this week was The Miz. After a great performance at Backlash on Sunday and a great performance last night, The Miz has been killing it in the ring, on the mic, as a new dad. So congrats, The Miz. You deserve it. That is going to do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Tag Me In Bro. Listen to the podcast, subscribe to it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, TuneIn, you name it, we are on it. I want to say congratulations, I know from me and from Tommy, to Los Ingobernables de Tantillo for their victory for our prediction series. Congrats, John, winning by a narrow but very present 1 point. We can't wait to see how the prediction series continues, especially through this summer of wrestling. As always, we want to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, answers, so let us know what you liked, what you hated, what you could give a fuck about. I've been Taryn O'Connor. A big thank you to Tommy Rowe, my co-host. We've been Tag Me In Bro. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week for another episode of SmackDown Live. Goodbye, universe!
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.